Okay, so we'll see the post or inserting a to-do. Let us say we get the insertion or the record to be inserted, all its data values into the controller, and controller passes all that information to the service. So imagining as if we received all the information from controller to service, from here we'll try to insert that data into database. For that, what we need to do is we need to create a method called as public to-dos, and we call it as post to-do, and this receives information like an object, a single record. We call it as an object of to-dos. So it is a to-dos type, to-dos to-do. It's not one single value as the way we receive here, like you see ID, it's one single value, but here multiple values or a complete record. And we say we'll simply return to do repository. The method we get to work is dot save entity, and then you say to do that, to do what you received. Now this all should be called from this post to do, should be called from the controller. Instead of simply returning this, what we'll do is we will create, we'll say we'll return a to do's. The newly object that got created or the newly record that got inserted is the same what we'll send, and post to do, and this is how we receive all the values coming from the client. You say request body to do's to do, and this better import, and we don't return the string. Now what we'll do is we'll search for, we'll first see if at all that record is there in the database or not. If it's there, we don't insert it. If it's not there, we'll insert it. So for that, what we'll do is we do the same thing as in the way we did over here, optional to do's, and then you do to do equal to do service dot get to do. You first get that single to do, and ID will lead to an error because here we are not receiving ID. Instead we receive a to do in which we have a get ID actually. So I don't think I have done get ID. No, it's not there. Okay, and also here we should say, let's make it as optional or optional to do, because the name of this variable and this variable is matching. So that was the error. I have this get ID given in the model to do. So the problem is with the variable name. I say optional to do, and if I receive a value in here, again I do if to optional to do dot is present, then what I'll do is I'll do the opposite, not. Then I'll say return to do service dot post to do, that I did the insert. And if at all I need to throw an exception, then I say throw new to do exception, and then you say to do with ID, to do dot get ID already exists. Okay, now save this. and let's try to insert. I open a new tab and I copy a proper value. I'll copy all this and here I say post and I pass it as a body raw, and this should be application JSON, and I pass the same information, and let's see if we can insert the existing record. Okay, and it should be post to do, and this to do is already available, is already there in the database, and I'm trying to insert that. So the response I get is no message available, not found. Actually the error is okay, no message available, not found, but our message is not working. And let's try to insert which is not available. Get to-dos. Let me see what all to-dos we have, and I remove this. I0767 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 11 12. 10 is not there, so I make this as 10 and this is a mistake I'm committing. Post to do, that's it. And now pass something that is there, and see, to do with ID 101 already exists. So now if I make it to 10 and I send this, because that's not there, now I get the same to do that was inserted. Now if you see in the database, or let's use the same thing, and in here you don't see 11 or 10, actually 12, 11, 10 is missing, 9, 8, 6 and 7, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. So 10 is not there. Now if I try to get all, then you see 10. Okay, so this is how you can insert something. Now let's update that record which we have inserted. We inserted 1010 with name Ravi C and some details in it. Now what we'll do is we'll try to update it. For that we use put mapping, and put is also something wherein we pass a variable, or let me show it. We use put and then we say put to do slash the to do that you want to update 1010. Now this is what you need to pass. So again this is a variable, we need to capture it. So that capturing all that we'll do in the controller, and service, it updates or it interacts with the database and or updates the record. So for that we need public we return nothing from this method. Instead we make or we return something to the client from controller. So I make void and I say put to do, and I receive some values from the controller, the ID and a updated to do. The updated to do will be in this variable, and to do repository dot, we go for save again. We will save this to do. Okay, so this is the service part, and in controller we'll say put to do and then we receive the ID, and we don't return, actually we don't return a string. So the return type should be response entity to-dos, and response entity you import it, and here you say to do service dot put to do, and you pass the ID comma to do, and then you return the response entity dot accepted body, and the to do you say that is it is updated. So here the arguments that I need to receive will be path variable long ID, the same as we did for get single to do, and then request body is something wherein you get all the to do related information in it. So to do's and to do. Now if I save it, now the body and raw text application JSON, and the same thing I'll copy this as the body and I'll send it, and now I make this as Kiran and this as web services or Spring Boot web services. And now if I try to send, I want this update to be done. You see, now I try to get the same thing, get all to do's. No, I'll just get one to do, get to do slash 1010, and I send it. See, Kiran Spring Boot web services. So this is how you can make the update possible. In the next session we try to delete this inserted record. Okay, so the last activity would be to delete the record. So in the service we'll delete it, public void, and you say delete to do, and again we need an ID that to be deleted, and you say to do repository dot delete by ID, and the ID that we get from the controller. Okay, so this is done. Now we need to call this delete to do from the controller. So again here you need to take that ID that is coming from the client. So we say ID, and then we don't be using string anymore to delete or as a return type. Instead we say a response entity of HTTP status in it. We'll send a status, and we need to receive that value ID. So we say path variable long ID. This way you receive that ID in here, and again we go for optional to do's, and you try to get that to do first. If it's available then we'll delete, if not we'll just send a proper response saying that the ID is not available. So to do service dot get to do, we'll get the to do first. If we get it successfully, if the to do is present, then if the to do is present, then we'll say to do service dot delete that to do. Okay, and then you send a response saying that the deletion is done successfully. So you say return response entity dot accepted dot a body with a message http status dot ok, saying that the deletion is done successfully. If there's a problem, then you throw a new exception, to do exception, and the message was to do with ID not found. And this is not required. Now I save this. Let's copy the same thing and use the delete request. Now we say delete, and here we say delete to do, and the to do that we are passing. Now I click on send. It says OK, and let's try to get that. So to do with ID not found, and if I try to delete that to do which is not there, to do with ID not found. So these are some CRUD operations that you can perform using the Spring Boot web service.